Save the bees. If you've been paying attention to the news and social media at all in the past few years, this phrase may sound familiar to you.
Now, this is for a reason. Saving the bees isn't some fad, trend, or challenge. The decline in bee populations across North America is a pressing ecological problem. Now, what can you personally do to help a global issue?
The answer is simple. Start small. We believe that changing the world starts in your community. Think about it. If everyone worked toward improving their community, they would, in turn, make the world a better place.
Hi, my name is Carly.
And my name is Kenzie. And our Capstone and Passion project is to save our local solitary bees.
In this video, we will be teaching you more about what a solitary bee actually is and how you can help save them.
In case you didn't already know, bees are the #1 pollinator, and humans rely on them heavily to pollinate crops that feed the world.
With this in mind, it is in mankind's best interest to do all we can to make sure that bees don't disappear.
Unfortunately, bee populations are on the decline, especially in Europe and the United States.
Clearly, the Earth's superpollinators are in danger. What could be threatening our furry yellow friends?
The biggest dangers to bee populations are
habitat and wildflower loss,
disease-causing viruses,
parasitic mites,
and neonicotinoids.
Wild native bees are especially susceptible to these mites and viruses.
Now, Carly, what is a solitary bee?
So glad you asked. Solitary bees are bees that do not live in a hive, produce honey, or have a queen. Instead, each individual female makes a single cell nest in holes in the ground, wood, or anywhere really. There are 950 species of solitary bees in Colorado, including sweat bees, leafcutter bees, long-horned bees, mason bees, and small carpenter bees. The way that solitary bees nest is very unique. After the bee locates a hole to build their nest in, they begin to build a pollen ball where their egg will be laid and their larvae will hatch. The pollen serves as a cocoon as well as food for the larvae. The bee then builds a thin wall and lays yet another egg until the entire hole is filled. Then she seals it off for safekeeping. The larvae will spend the winter growing in the nest and emerge in the spring or summer.
Now that we know more about these amazing bees, what can we do to increase our local population?
Well, there are a few ways to do this.
We will touch on each of these methods, starting with wildflowers.
As previously mentioned, habitat loss poses a threat to Colorado's native bees. Solitary bees rely on the nectar and pollen from blooming plants in the area. Planting wildflowers helps to enrich the community as well as help the bees.
Additionally, if you trim your plants like we do, the hollow stems are ideal places for solitary bees to nest.
You can't go wrong with these native Colorado blooms. Believe it or not, planting flowers isn't the only way to provide nesting holes for solitary bees. Leafcutter and mason bees love to nest in what are called bee hotels. These can easily be made at home. Here's how we made our own DIY bee hotel.
If you're wanting to build a bee hotel for your garden, the first thing that you'll want to do is come up with a design. This will help you determine what materials you will need and ensure the safety of the solitary bees that choose to nest there. For our bee hotels, we chose wood for its natural appearance and sturdiness. We also chose a hexagonal design with 3 different compartments, but this is not necessary. Be as creative with it as you want. We recommend keeping it small to prevent the spread of disease and parasitic mites between the solitary bees that choose to nest in your hotel. To achieve our desired shape, we cut even sections of wood and made angled cuts on the end with a power saw. Using painter's tape, a vise, and a nail gun, we formed 3 hexagons and nailed them together. The recommended depth of a bee hotel is 6 inches, as this is the typical length required for the nesting holes of mason and leafcutter bees. Next, a roof is a good addition to the hotel to shield nests from the elements, as is some sort of backing. Backing also prevents unwanted insects from getting into the nests, such as parasitoid wasps. Now that you have your frame, determine how you will provide the bees with a nesting hole. We recommend hole diameters between 6 and 8 millimeters, depending on which type of bee you are planning to attract. Our bee hotel is made for leafcutter bees, so we went closer to 6 millimeter holes. Our tubes were purchased online and were made specifically for bee hotels, but you can easily make your own by rolling paper or cardboard. You can also drill holes in a wood block or use bamboo stems, though we recommend the former method so that if you do get any bee residents, the cocoons that they lay can be easily removed, cleaned, and stored to prevent disease and parasites and ensure their survival. You can secure your tubes with a rubber band and fit them snugly in your frame with natural materials from your area. Get creative with the tube placement. Though not necessary, chicken wire may be a smart addition to your hotel to prevent uninvited visitors such as birds and squirrels. Lastly, secure your bee hotel with a sturdy method, such as screws and hose clamps. Though not necessarily picky, bees will be less likely to nest in a hotel that is hanging and swinging in the wind. You will want to place your bee hotel facing southeast for a maximum amount of morning sunlight. Bees are ectothermic and use sunlight for energy to start foraging. Speaking of foraging, don't forget to plant lots of colorful, native flowering plants around your hotel. Bees especially love blue, purple, yellow, and white flowers where pollen is easily accessible. The height of your house is not imperative, but the closer to food and nesting supplies, the better. Remember, bees may not nest in your hotel right away. It may take a season or 2 before they take to it. Nonetheless, building bee hotels is a fantastic method to promote solitary bee nesting in your area. The last method is simply raising awareness. Knowledge is power. Take this new knowledge and use it to empower others to make a difference in your community.
This can be as simple as sharing a post on social media to building a bee hotel and showing it to others.
Together, we can make Canyon City a bee-beautiful place.